Good evening. I'm Chair Nathan Sticks, calling to order the Newcastle Community Activities Commission meeting of February 14th, 2024. Let me officially wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. This is our 6 p.m. Public meeting, and it is being recorded, broadcast live, and may be viewed later on the city's YouTube channel. If everyone would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Amy, would you do a roll call, please?
Commissioner Forsberg.
Here.
Commissioner Van Atta.
Present.
Commissioner Lee.
Present.
Commissioner D'Souza.
Present.
Commissioner Kretzinger.
Here.
Vice Chair Flash.
Present.
Chair Sticks.
Present.
Chair Sticks, all 7 present and accounted for.
Thank you. So is there any objection to approval of tonight's agenda as presented? Okay, we'll take that as a no objection, so show final agenda as presented, approved as presented. Next, approval of minutes. So the minutes from our January 10th meeting are not available at this time. We'll talk about that at our next meeting. Public comment is next. Do we have anybody online for public comment?
We do not.
No surprise there. Commissioner comments and celebrations. So we're going to try something new. I'm simply going to ask, is there anyone that has any comments and celebrations they'd like to share?
Actually, I would. As you all know, my family had an emergency, health emergency 2 weeks ago, and I was just really happy that my street is full of all doctors. And I got really good advice from my neighbors, and everyone was ready and here to help along with all of you. And so I just wanted to say thank you.
I just want to wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day and a happy Lunar New Year.
Okay, we'll go right into reports. So first is events and recreation. Amy.
All right, so the report is coming to you, and for benefit of the viewing public, I will summarize what's on here. There'll be an extra sheet. You can just leave it on the table. I won't go into too much detail because I do want to mention, though, the Lunar New Year event was held on Sunday, February 4th. It was the middle school. It was well attended with 1,000 to 1,200 guests in attendance. Hosted by City of Newcastle, Newcastle Arts Council, Newcastle Library, and Friends of the Newcastle Library. It ran smoothly from setup to cleanup, with thanks to the many volunteers. Special thanks to Councilmember Sun Burford, who was the MC, but also one of the main visionaries behind this. And also thank you to Mayor Clark for the welcome to open the event. And I'll leave it at that, since the Arts Council really had a prominent role in it, and I want to leave that to Vice Chair Flash to discuss if he'd like. Coming up, we have the Newcastle Area Volunteer Fair. It's Saturday, March 9th at the Newcastle Library from 2 to 4 p.m. It is co-hosted by the Newcastle Library and City of Newcastle. It's a drop-in event. It'll be geared towards teens and adults looking for volunteer opportunities. There are 16 different organizations in the Newcastle community, as well as the greater Newcastle community, coming to seek volunteers. I will be hosting a city table. If you, as commissioners, have any ideas or suggestions, needs or wants on the volunteer front, feel free to shoot me an email and let me know. And I am happy to put what needs to be out there to make sure we have a lot of volunteer support. Also at the library, the city's surface water management team is hosting an outreach program. It's called Get the Scoop on Stormwater. It's going to cover the ins and outs of Newcastle's stormwater system. Registration is not required. It is a free program. It will be held on Tuesday, March 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. Also want to note, and I apologize if our Historical Society is also mentioning this, but I did want to mention that the first of several work parties in the Newcastle Historic Cemetery is taking place on Saturday, March 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It is a drop-in event organized by Newcastle Historical Society in the city of Newcastle. It's recommended that you dress for the weather and for the activity. Tools will be provided, but if you have work gloves and handheld trimmers, please bring them along. I'd also like to note on the programming side, the recreational programming side, I am working with Skyhawks to bring back our sports programming for spring and summer and even expand it. Last spring we offered basketball and soccer, but we're also looking to offer a TOTS program and tennis. We're one of the few communities in the area with a great tennis court, so it's a wonderful opportunity and it's very popular. So once the offerings are set, you will see that information go out for registration on all our media channels. Just in case you're interested, the spring season for Skyhawks runs April 15th to May 20th, and summer camps start in late June. And then just a reminder that City Hall and the City Annex building are closed on Monday for President's Day. And if you have not checked your mailbox, do check your mailbox for the letter that went out from City Council on our different communication channels. Talks about some of the priorities that our new City Council has, and about an upcoming meeting on March 5th about public safety that the council is holding. And you're welcome, I can pass this around if you haven't seen yours yet, but it should come to every mailbox, residential mailbox in Newcastle this week. And any questions on the report?
So I think you might want to share with the commissioners, you said how many people have signed up since they've
Oh,
received it?
so one of the goals was to get more people to subscribe to the bi-monthly newsletter, and we've had approximately 20 to 30 new subscribers each day that this has reached mailboxes. So that's Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday as of 1 p.m. So it's good response.
All right, thanks, Amy. All right, Mr. Flash, you want to do Newcastle Arts Council?
Yeah, of course. So we've been busy start of the year. We had an event planned in January, and because our instructor got COVID, we had to do a quick pivot. And so we did canvas bag painting, and we had about 47 participants at that event. Amy mentioned the Lunar New Year celebration, and boy, what a huge success this was. There were, as she mentioned, upwards of 1,200 people that were there. We filled Risdon. We had both the gym and the commons area filled with some of our local organizations, with entertainment on stage, with calligraphers, arts and crafts, food. It was just a really wonderful community event, and it showed how great this community can come together for something new. So this was really the second year in a row that we've done such a similar event. And as was mentioned, last year we did it at Aegis, and we doubled the number of attendants this year. So a huge thank you to all the volunteers, huge thank you to Amy and to the planning committee. So that was Vicky Hack, myself, Son Buford, and again, all the volunteers and people that made that a huge success. And we are planning for a similar event for next year. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully it'll continue to be an annual celebration for this community. We did a sip and paint event this week, and then we've also had a creative writing workshop that's a 4-series activity happening in the month of February. And so we've had 2 sessions, and we're going to have 2 more coming up. Looking forward, we have our youth art exhibition that's going to be on display in March at the Newcastle Library. We have our opening night on February 27th from 6:30 to 7, so if anyone wants to come by and participate in an art project, meet some of the wonderful youth artists that we have in our greater community, please do. We have 28 artists that are going to be represented. That's 12 different age groups, or 12 different grades, 16 local schools that those students belong to, so all within the greater Newcastle area, including the ones here in Newcastle directly, and it includes folks from Newcastle, Renton, Bellevue, Mercer Island, actually, Issaquah, and Sammamish. We have our annual meeting coming up on March 4th, so please tune in for that. And lastly, actually two more things are Free Little Art Gallery is still open, always open, so please post something, take something from that if you would like. And then looking way, way, way ahead, we're targeting July 20th for our art fair at the Newcastle Commons. So mark your calendar for that. And that's all I have.
Christian, Historical Society and Chamber.
Amy covered the upcoming cleanup event, work party at the Historical Society, and they're just continuing to proceed forward with other projects that we've talked about before, like the fence project and stuff. And then the Chamber does not have any events coming up that I'm aware of, except for a 5 Chambers breakfast on March 1st in Issaquah.
Thank you. Allison, Newcastle Trails.
Newcastle Trails, just some information on some of their activities. They are participating in continued collaboration with Renton and the Kennydale Neighborhood Association for connecting Newcastle trail systems with three Renton trails, kind of bringing trails from May Creek down to Lake Washington. And some tentative trail routes have been identified for the Cemetery Access Trail, new pedestrian entrance, and ADA Access Trail. And they are also, Newcastle Trails is also participating in recruiting volunteers, including at the past Lunar New Year event. And they'll be, they plan on being at the Newcastle Library event as well on the 9th.
Thank you. Kim, anything going on at Aegis? Shally, anything at the Y?
The next thing is on April 20th, which is Healthy Kids Day, and Becca said she'll let me know more next month.
Connie, anything going on with the library, Friends of the Library?
Yeah, so the library has a lot of events every week. Some of the recurring ones that I know we've mentioned before are things like toddler story time and different family activities. The couple that I was going to highlight have already been mentioned. So the youth arts exhibition and the Newcastle area volunteer fair are both going to take place at the library, but it's been discussed.
Thank you. That was quick. Just a reminder to please email me your recaps so I can get it into the council recap. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our reports. Let's get into general business. So the first thing we have is Vice Chair Flash, the presentation to council recap.
Thank you. So first of all, thank everyone for participating. It's always nice to get in front of the council and have them learn what we do, and hopefully allow them to appreciate all the effort that we put in for the community of Newcastle, and seek their guidance on what they like to have and what they like to see. So it was a really great meeting. Thank you, Chairman Sticks, for presenting our work plan. And as we all know, our work plan was approved later on in the meeting, so we're good to go for this year. And we, need to move forward and start planning some things and executing on the work plan. So I know that the council's excited about it, and it's time for us to get to work. So a couple of things, I just want to bring up the things that were brought up as part of the questioning that came up from the council. And so these are the bullet points that my takeaways, and I certainly want to ask if there's any other takeaways from anybody in the group once I go over these. So what was mentioned is the 30-year anniversary. So as we're thinking about planning events for this year, let's keep that in mind. If there's anything that we incorporate around the 30-year. It was brought up about third spaces, and that's certainly one of the items on our work plan. More to come about that, but we did a little bit of education to the council and allowed them to understand kind of what that concept is. It was brought up about what we are doing to support the elderly in our community, and specifically how can we get them to our events, and how can we make sure that they participate in our events. So as we're thinking about events, something to consider as a constituent group in the community is how are we supporting the elderly as a member of our community. And then along with that, it was brought up, how do we get information to everybody? And how do we make sure that people are informed about what's going on? So there's lots of avenues to do that, but again, let's also think about that as we go forward and how we can focus on that. Was brought up about supporting our pets. And once again, if, you know, as we're starting to plan things, we can think about either specific activities or, as was mentioned at the meeting, you know, Newcastle Days or the existing events, what we can do to do that or to incorporate that into our planning. Talked about volunteerism, getting the schools involved, and particularly the high schools, and engaging with them. So some of the things I know that we are already doing is on March 9th, we're going to be at the event at the library, and getting that group engaged in some of the volunteer activities within the city. And what can we do with the chamber? And are we doing anything with the chamber? And then how do we support our community groups? And that's certainly something that we have been doing, is making sure that information gets out about what's going on with our community groups. So if and again, to that point, if there's any others that we're not including or not focusing on, then let's go ahead and do that. Gonna throw it to the group. Any other takeaways that people had from that meeting?
The only thing I would like to add is that I felt it was a very good effort on all of our part to at least work with the new council to let them know what we do, how we do things, and that we're pretty active in the community. So I felt that was a very good job on all of our parts to portray that and get their confidence. And I know that we've heard from several of them that we have their total support. So that's good to know. Okay. Thank you, Ed. All right, next we have our 2024 subcommittees. So everybody take one of these. Like we've done in years past, we've got several things that are going to be coming up throughout the year, and we just like to know who on the commission would like to be a part of those projects. If you want to support all of them, please feel free to put your name down, no pressure. And then just when you're done looking at it, if you want to, we could do a master if anybody wants to do that, or you can just give me back your copies. This will be on the SharePoint site, so we can all, I'll update it based on what feedback I get from you. And that's pretty much it. These are the events that we know are on the docket right now. And so if you'd like to be an active member of that event, put your name down. Any questions?
I just want to add that I think this would be for who wants to sit on the committee, but certainly our input as a group is going to be important in all of these. So don't feel like you're excluded from providing input or being active in some of these areas just because you're not on the committee, I guess is.
Thank you. And adding a little more flavor to it. So this will provide Amy, Ed, and I at least the ability to know as we're starting to talk about planning of these events and having subcommittee meetings, who wants to be involved and present at those meetings. Okay? So let us know if you have any questions.
You have questions about what would be, like, for instance, say you sign up to be in concerts, what would that entail? Certainly between Nathan, Ed, and I, we could help answer that. We're happy to answer that tonight or answer that offline. But if you'd like to know what does that entail, we can give you a little bit more. Kim can also speak to a lot of these too.
Can I just ask quickly, please, with regard to concerts, thank you for bringing that up. Is it unreasonable to ask what that would involve? I mean, I know most of us, or if not all of us, sat at a table at one or more concerts last week. Or last year? Is it just that, or is it something else? Something more?
So
So in the past, we've just been part of kind of band selection, just taking a smaller group and throwing out some ideas and then pushing them to Amy to say, let's try to book these individual bands.
watching YouTube videos. and
Yeah, YouTube videos.
Did we love it? Did we not
Yeah.
love it?
Got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Did
Okay.
Does it suit our audience?
So if I'm interested in / willing to sit at the table, I shouldn't necessarily put my name down. Because
We'll
I
probably get to that closer to the
Excellent.
summertime
Okay.
when it's actually, and then knowing
Like,
who's
how
going to
to use
staff
extra
the booth.
bands.
Yeah, who's available to work this date, yeah,
Got it, thank you.
when we get closer to it. Good question.
The subcommittees are more on the planning, helping with the vision, what the CAC would like for a vision. So similarly to the holiday lights, where three of you met with me about what you'd like to see for that contest, and then I took that and then executed on that, and then came back to you with feedback. So it's more of a planning type thing for any of these.
Thank you.
So like sponsorships, Ed and I will be coming back in April and May and June and updating the commission with how we're doing in presenting the packets and getting, sponsorships from the local businesses and whatnot. So it's more of a, as Amy just said, just helping on the planning side of it and being another voice in helping to plan some of these things. Any other questions on the, okay. Amy, 2024 event budgets.
Give me a second because I have to be in two places at once. So I need to transfer the screen and then I'll pop over. So hopefully you see this all on your screen, and I hope you enjoy my pink for Valentine's Day. I tried to make it a little festive. It is ADA compliant, I did check. So Nathan and Ed at our agenda planning meeting had asked that I present to you a little bit more information about the events budget so that you have a sense of, how the money gets spent for big things like Newcastle Days. Where are the priorities? And that will help you as a commission to offer suggestions, new ideas, feedback on what has been done, what you'd like to see happen in the future. So this is by no means a comprehensive look at the community activities budget. It's really honed in on what would be most useful to you. However, all of this is public information. It's available to every single resident at any time. So I just want to point that out. So these figures come from the 2024 adopted budget, which was adopted by council on the 7th of November. It's accessible online to anyone with a computer or device. There's a longer link, but this is a really easy way for you to find it. So if you just go to our website, to the finance department, you'll scroll down and you're able to access the entire city budget, every single fund, revenue and expenditure side. There is an online book that you can scroll through with all sorts of lovely explanations that are really helpful. You can also have it printed as well. You can do it by section. It's a really wonderful resource, and it is public. So at any time, any commissioner or any member of the community can look at this. But certainly if something comes up tonight and you have a question and I can answer it, I will. If not, I will make a note of it and get back to you on that. So certainly if there's something I didn't address that you're curious about, we will get that answered. So let's start with the big overall picture. So events, actually I'm starting at the bottom here. So events comes out of the community activities budget, which is part of the executive, which is part of our general fund. So the estimated cost of our events in actually it's not estimated, it's actual from 2023. So this is our fireworks on the lake, our concerts and other programs, and our Newcastle Days. Those are the big 3 events that went into this. Cost $74,147. They are rounded figures. We are budgeted for $100,240. And there are a couple reasons for the difference, which I'll get into. But I will make a note that Deb Polson did a really good job of managing those budgets smartly. And that is also a reason why you see the figure that you do. I do also want to note that I did not include police overtime in any of these figures. That is not a decision that factors into our planning. That is a decision that the police department makes in collaboration with our city manager. So those costs are not included. So let's start with fireworks on the lake. So here's the breakdown of how we spent our money. So we hire a pyrotechnics, we hire sound, we hire a band, and then we have a banner that we have to patch. That is the sponsor banner that goes up over Coal Creek Parkway. Then we also have to rent a bunch of stuff to make the fireworks happen. You may not know that the pipeline access is actually owned. That pipeline waterline parking is actually owned by City of Seattle. So we have to pay a fee to open that pipeline up. And the nice thing is that $450 opens it up for the entire summer, or for all of our summer events, not for the entire summer. So that covers all of our events. We also have to pay quite a bit of money for barricades for safety. We have the honey buckets, and then of course we have the Sunbelt rental is the sign that you see. I believe it's the sign that you see. And then we have some other expenses. So those are things like printing of flyers. In some cases, it may be some office supplies, fire extinguishers, and such like that, fees for building permits, fire permits, that sort of thing. So that is what you see for each of the different buckets for the fireworks, and then you can see the adopted amounts. Now you may notice a big difference on the all other. We are going to need at some point to replace our banners that go over. So we've been patching them and they are coming near to the end of the life. And so that when you see all other, you'll see a big difference between what we have spent and what we have been budgeted to spend. And it is precisely because we're considering how to replace those banners. Questions on the fireworks? Okay. Ed?
The band, is that an average kind of cost, or are they on the less expensive side or more expensive side?
That is you'll see with the concerts that is an average of what we have spent. It does tend to be on the lower side for what could be spent. Kristen?
Are there any associated revenue items with the fireworks on the lake budget?
Yes and no. So summer sponsorship is revenue that is associated with, so I shouldn't say cover. Summer sponsorship is associated with all of the summer events. And I did not create a separate slide, but it is expected to bring in $50,000 in sponsorship. However, this is already budgeted as expense. So whether $50,000 comes in or does not come in, this is budgeted expense. It is hoped that $50,000 comes in revenue. However, like tax money, you don't know until it comes in. It can come in above or it can come in below. Good question. All righty. So concerts. So here we have the what we spent last year versus what we have budgeted for this year. So we have our sound, and that sound cover is 4 concerts. Then you'll see our 4 bands, and you'll see that what we paid for our fireworks band is very similar in scope to these bands. And then finally, you see your banner patches. We have our honey buckets, and then all other, again, that's water at the tables, other sort of miscellaneous fees. Questions on that one? Okay. Newcastle Days is 2 pages. A lot goes into Newcastle Days. So I did this in sort of planning order. Like, how do we think about events as we plan this? How do we think about this event as we plan this? So we have the car show awards, our activities. So the inflatables, the junk chime, the ponies, and the petting zoo. Again, we hire AT Productions to do our sound because we have the performances on the stage. We do have a band at the end. We, this year, had a MC as well as the bagpiper. And then finally, we had the banner patches. A lot were needed.
Can I just ask a quick question about
Sure.
the banner patches? I see it on 3 of the
Yes.
3 of the slides. Is that, like, you just spread the banner patch cost over all 3 slides?
There are
That's
3
a lot of-
separate banners.
Oh, got.
And the reason why they need patches is because the dates change, but then also the sponsors change. So one of the benefits of the top tier of sponsorship is to have your logo on the banner that goes over Coal Creek Parkway.
Got it, thanks.
So there are 3 separate banners. Yeah. Okay. Ready for page 2? Rental and leases. So all those tents and tables and chairs is Alexander Party. National Barricade, and that expense is a lot less than 4th of July because far fewer barricades are needed. We don't have pyrotechnics. Honey buckets, that's a bigger expense because we need more honey buckets. And United Rentals, I'm not entirely sure what that one is for. I didn't have a chance to dig into it, nor do I, there was a credit last year, nor do I know exactly where that credit is. But I can certainly find out if you're curious as to what we did for United Rentals and where that credit came from. And then we did have some printing costs, the biggest of which, the largest of which is the t-shirts that we do for the volunteers. And then the yard signs, the posters, the art fair banner was another printing cost I broke down for you so you could see that. And then all other, in this case, a good portion of the all other, although it only was $459, is we feed some of the folks who come support us. And so that's a meal expense. And then we had to have more fire extinguishers and things like that. And there's the adopted budget on the right. Questions? And I can certainly go back to a slide. I can make this available by putting it in the SharePoint so you can take a look at it. And again, if you want to deep dive into the larger budget, you can go online and see the community activities budget. I tried to drill this down so that it's the things that would be helpful for the commission to know. I did want to mention to Christian's question about is there any associated revenue on this side of Newcastle Days? Yes, there is. So we are budgeted to bring in $3,000 in vendor booth fees for Newcastle Days, and that is only Newcastle Days. Right?
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy. We just thought it was important that we all know, where the monies go and exactly what our budgets are for each of our events, the big events that we're planning, so.
Nathan, can I add something? So that's the budget for the bigger events. I also want to make sure that everybody understands that this should not preclude us from coming up with ideas to do something that is not necessarily budgeted. It's a different process, and Scott and the city would be open to exploring different ideas that would cost additional funds. So these are specifically budgeted, but please don't make that our limitation in terms of what we can think about doing and propose to do.
I would add that these are big events with big budgets. Something like Pumpkins in the Park is super easy to execute, and it costs very little money to do. And so if you're thinking about new ideas and new initiatives, those types of things are very easy to say yes to. Holiday Lights was very easy to say yes to because they're not $40,000 events, which are a lot more involved. I mean, the Newcastle Days takes months to plan and hours to plan and a big budget. But there are other things that we can do as a community that doesn't require that level of intensity.
Good call-outs. Okay. Next is the 30th anniversary updates, Christian and Kim.
Ed, have you heard anything back about highlighting key players in the magazines?
Only what was distributed, in the sense that they're open to that, to doing something. I think the ball's in our court at this point. Yeah.
So we should discuss that at some point. Because we need to get, start getting those people out there, and also soliciting feedback for people that we may not come up with on our own. Now, I know we want to make the 30th anniversary like a big part of Newcastle Days. So, proposals, how are we going to do that?
Are you talking specifically, did you say Newcastle Days?
Yeah.
Well, so one idea we have been talking about, right, was a birthday cake. And I reached out to Tony Ventrella a couple weeks ago, and I actually got the name of the person that he met with at Costco 5 years ago. So Tony and I remember going to Costco and picking up our birthday cake, which they so graciously donated to the city. So I wanted to wait to talk to this group as far as talking about a cake and the timing. So what I think I'm hearing you say is Newcastle Days, again, would probably be the appropriate event to have a cake, and then come up with ideas of, 5 years ago, we had not all of them, but a lot of the old mayors were invited back, and we introduced them on the stage, and then they helped us do the cutting of the cake. So we can talk about those ideas. But if you're in favor, I will go ahead and get in contact with the representative from Costco and see if they will give us a cake again this year. You guys like that idea?
I'm in favor. Kim, everybody else?
Yeah.
Did they just donated it?
Yeah.
Great.
We made a nice little plaque that said, cake donated by Costco, and thanked them for it. Probably we'll send them a letter of thanks as well.
So how big is this cake?
So you've seen Costco cakes. It was probably, I'm going to say maybe 8
Yeah, it's big.
put together, and the replica of our logo was absolutely unbelievable. I mean, it looked just like the Newcastle, 25th anniversary logo. So we would provide them with, again, our emblems and whatever we wanted to have on the cake. So
I think you're just passing out slices like to free to whoever walks up, and when you run out, and that's
Correct.
it. Okay.
yeah,
We must have some Newcastle residents that are Costco executives. So, yeah, just hopefully they'll still be on board for making a donation. And Tony's gonna help you? Is that what I understood? Tony's gonna,
No.
oh, you're gonna, okay.
he already told him that I would be contacting him, so he's kind of laid the groundwork for it. So
I think that's a great idea. Another thing, so with the people that we're highlighting through a magazine or whatever we're doing, could there be like a culmination of that at Newcastle Days of saying like a recognition, or I don't know if like a winner, but like some version of like during the event, I don't know. Especially if you're bringing back old mayors and having that kind of moment, you could have it with non-mayors as well.
Maybe we could look into having like a running slideshow, not next to the stage, but in some other area at Newcastle Days of the people that we've highlighted. That will,
You don't need my permission if
that
it's
will
something
not
you
make our
want to do.
AV costs cheaper, just heads up.
Yeah, it could even be at the City of Newcastle booth, maybe.
We could decorate the City of Newcastle booth in like 30, like anniversary signage or something, or even just like that's our theme kind of. So letting all the participating, businesses and people with booths just know that ahead of time. If they want to lean into 30 years of Newcastle, they can, and just see, how many people want to do that.
I love that idea. Piggybacking off that, we could even give one of them an award for like, most 30th anniversary festivity at your booth at Newcastle Days.
that's a wonderful idea, and really a nice incentive to get the businesses that are going to be presenting, right, at Newcastle Days to make it more meaningful. That's a wonderful idea.
We also encourage the businesses to have some sort of activity or handout or something at Newcastle Day. So maybe it could be a 30-year or some tying around the number 30.
Or even like some sort, I think in the past we talked about maybe like a scavenger hunt or something, but I don't know if there could be like a special thing of like find the business that's been in Newcastle for 30 years. So, like who has, if anybody knows, but like what's been around for the whole time. And I think that could be even like a fun thing to play on a little bit. I'm sure there's more details to iron out, but I don't know.
More like a trivia type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question for the project team. Where are we at then with any type of recognizing a Newcastle resident?
We have a few lined up, teed up, and I think we just need to execute on getting them out there in some form, which is through the newsletter, in the Facebook group, and then deciding if we want to do the magazine thing. Because I think one of the things with the local magazines is they are not necessarily interested in doing it every month, but maybe doing like a few people in a couple of months leading up to Newcastle Days, or doing like all 30 in the month of Newcastle Days as like a big feature story. So I was just thinking about how we want, and there's nothing to say that we couldn't do both. But we do need to start doing it, because 30 people or contributors, because I think there are some that are couples. That's a lot to do in 52 weeks, and don't even have 52 weeks left.
Do you have an idea when you think the first recognitions will be ready? Like, when? Okay.
I would say we could shoot for the end of this month, and probably earlier, because some of it will depend on who we select getting back to us, which is out of our control. So I'm buffering in. The end of the month is probably realistic.
Good stuff. Anything else? All right. Fireworks on the lake.
All right, thank you, Chair Sticks. It is official. Our fireworks on the lake is going to be on Saturday, July 6th. And I am in the process of doing the bookings, and I'd really like some feedback from the commission as I make some decisions. So fireworks, I was not able to be present until the very end of the show. So I wondered for those commissioners who were there if they felt that the scope of the fireworks and the length of the fireworks were what you would expect and hope to see at an event like this, or do we need to make any changes to what we ask of the pyrotechnics?
I'll just say it was my first one, but I was super impressed.
Okay.
I think like I'd gone the reverse where I'd seen, I think, the budget first, and then I saw the fireworks, and I was like, wow, we got all this. And it seemed like it went on for a long time. There were multiple songs, and even like, they're going to play Katy Perry firework, and you think that's the end, and it wasn't the end. And so I think a lot of people even around us were very pleasantly surprised by the length of it.
The only thing I would say in terms of, and I think they didn't do this last year, but I have seen it in subsequent year or past years where they did kind of a lower show and the higher show. And I think the lower show is a little bit of a bust with Lake Borgne in the way that we're presenting. So I would say leave out the lower stuff, just go big.
And kind of piggybacking on that, one of the benefits to it being higher is not all of us get down to the park. Some of us watch it from the elevations.
Yeah.
So if it's up above, parking's better in my driveway. If we're watching it from up above, it's just adds a little bit more excitement. Of course, we're also not down there buying kettle corn and
Right.
whatever else, but it gives some different watching options. I'll say, or just more interest.
Is there a certain time that it has to start?
The event itself or the
The
fireworks?
fireworks?
After dark.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was dark for a while and then the fireworks came on. I didn't know if they
Okay.
could go a little bit.
So
earlier.
what were your concerns about the timing?
Just it was dark for a while, I think, and then I
Okay.
think people were just waiting and waiting.
Okay.
And then it just got later for kids, but I just didn't know if
Okay. So
it could be a little bit early, like as soon as it got dark.
and this is something that wouldn't necessarily affect the booking one way or another, but I just want to make sure I understand. So was there a delay between the band and the fireworks, or was it the band was also late or too long?
I think the band was late.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember too, but I remember something like that. I know the band went And I actually think the band maybe went over schedule.
That is, I do have that in my notes.
That they went a little longer than they were supposed to, and then the mayor gave remarks, and they were kind of long.
Okay.
No, like, they were great, but also, yeah, with kids that are impatient, so I don't even know, maybe like an activity for kids or something, because I also got a lot of like, when is it gonna start?
Yeah.
Okay, or tightening up the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. And finding out whether there's a reason why there was
There's a reason why.
Right,
Do they
okay.
have to go at a certain time?
Okay, all right, excellent. That is great feedback. Leave out lower. Timing. I had heard another comment that it seemed like the fireworks started very slow and then all of a sudden got going. So that would also contribute to that idea of it feeling like it's taking a long time to get ready. And it is late for young kids, even when it does get dark here. So that it's where we live, but thank you, that's really helpful. Any other comments about the pyrotechnics? Excellent, if you think of something, feel free to let me know. So then I want to move on to the band. Soul Siren is available. Soul Siren is excited if we would like to go with them. They are in our general budget range of what we spend for bands. How do people feel about the band? Other than that they went over.
I think they're a good band. And if they're available, it makes it kind of a easy maneuver.
Do you want us to vote?
No, but thank you for offering. No, I don't
Okay.
think we necessarily need a vote. I just need the feedback that, and if you do have concerns about the band or feedback you want to share just offline, feel free to email me. If there's if you have another band you'd like us to consider, not necessarily for the 4th, we're going to need to start getting lists together for all of our 4 concerts as well. So there are lots of opportunities for bands.
You have my,
We do.
yes. I would recommend them for the 4th also,
Oh, okay.
but not in lieu of, if you already have Soul Siren, then I think picking them up for one of the night
Okay.
concerts would be great too. So, maybe not starting from scratch.
And I just think from a work effort, it would be, I mean, if they're ready to go and we'll just get them signed.
Okay.
Tick, tied, done.
Can we get Taylor Swift?
Kelsey's got plans for her that day, I believe. Something in Kansas City, I think.
She's not in our budget.
Well,
We'll just need a bigger runway.
There was someone, I think we got an email about a month or so ago that someone was, so just respond, that's it.
Yes.
I'm gonna check it out.
So I get multiple emails, particularly like right around January 1st. And then, as we come into later February, early March, I'm getting daily multiple emails from folks who are interested. So I do have a long list of people who have expressed interest, whether or not they're in our budget. But yes, so you may find that they will email the entire commission or certain commissioners. If you don't see me CC'd on that email, feel free to forward that to me, and I do respond and let them know that the process is it's a committee that makes the decision, and we'll be getting to that soon.
So these were specifically people saying, I'm in a band, I want to play?
Yes.
So that was, oh, fun, okay.
Yes, we get I get a lot of those, which is good. But there are a lot of people who want to play.
I'm just saying, for the summer concerts, should we, forward those along and vet them? Or what are we gonna do?
So that's exactly what the subcommittee would do.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. That's your job if you're on the concert subcommittee, is that you get a list of all our vetted bands and you get to look at them. Or you get a list of all of our solicited and solicitees. Yes. And you take a look and offer some advice and input. All right, so if we're set on that feedback, there's one last piece of feedback. So there was a recommendation from a number of folks on the planning side to bump up the sound support. It's my understanding that the folks who were seated in the far regions of the park had a really difficult time hearing things. And given how big the crowd was, I have a proposal from the AT Sound Productions for what it would take to bump up the sound a little bit. And I wondered how the CAC felt about the sound, whether they also felt that hearing from the distant regions was difficult, or we needed more sound support.
I don't have any thoughts about whether or not it was sufficient. I mean, the couple of times that I went, it was fine. But I wonder if the louder we get, we should expect complaints from neighbors. Concerns, and maybe complaints.
Well, I do know that, especially like Newcastle Days, we had a issue with the sound on the south side where the petting zoo was. And if there were wireless speakers that were there, but they were facing north, then it's not facing the homes. And if we could do something similar to that, then I don't think we'll have people that'll be impacted in the neighborhood, because the speakers will be facing towards the lake. But I know we had a big problem with Newcastle Days again, people hearing in the south end of the park. Back by our tent, it was very hard to hear from the stage.
Okay, that's good. Do you know if that feedback was for music or if it was for like people speaking? Because I felt like the music was always a really good volume, and that's probably what you would get complaints about if there was like heavy bass or something. But I definitely felt like I could not hear the mayor the couple of times she was speaking. You did need to like run up to hear that at all. And so I don't know if there was like, it might be worth maybe even asking the sound crew if there was like a volume disparity between certain microphones or something, because it just seemed like it was different.
Okay. Thank you, that's really helpful. All right. Well, those were my 3 questions. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Concern, what are we doing to address Wi-Fi access?
On the list, but like a tower or something like that. I don't have anything specific at this point. But yes, that is on the list for both Newcastle Days and for 4th of July to make sure we have something in place.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so the vendors couldn't get their, Square accounts or whatever, they couldn't do transactions. So I know, well, speaking specifically for the Arts Council, we lost our internet access halfway through the event. And some of the other food vendors did as well, so.
So is that really more about Newcastle Days than it is about
No, it's
It
both.
was the 4th of
It's
July.
both.
4th
Yeah,
of July?
both,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not the concert, we don't necessarily have to worry about the concerts, or are we,
So I don't have it on my list for the concerts, but definitely for 4th of July and for Newcastle Days to have some sort of, whether we rent in a tower or, those portable tower things or something.
just throwing out an idea? I mean, Jim Quigg works for T-Mobile, he's on the planning commission, and he might be able to help us with that.
And the city also contracts with T-Mobile for cell services, which is why I'm not privy to all those discussions that are happening right now. But yes, that is on the radar to make sure that we cover that.
I was going to say maybe they would sponsor a portable tower.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it to the folks who are working with T-Mobile to hash that out.
This is more of a comment and less of a question, but I just want to put it in everybody's mind that, like, how are we communicating to the community when fireworks on the lake is happening, particularly those people who don't enjoy loud noises like pets and veterans. I think that's an important thing to consider, making sure that they know. Most people know to expect it on the 4th of July. They don't always know not to expect it on the 4th of July. And it's not a fun surprise if you don't like fireworks.
So are you suggesting a certain type of communication or just trying to put it out there that we should be aware that we do this communication?
I think we should be aware that we do this communication and then look into if there's any possible way to like target those groups of people with any additional communication. I know we're focusing a lot on that this year. I think it's something we should think about, how best to reach them, and then all the normal channels, right? Like Facebook posts.
Certainly, if you have suggestions, specific suggestions, those would be welcomed.
I think getting it out there as early as possible, because a lot of people who do have like sound-sensitive dogs will choose to travel during that period of time, and that's already going to be a busy weekend of travel because it's, take one day off, get a 5-day weekend for free. So, based on when the date is, so people would want to make their plans early if they're one of those people that likes to head to the hills.
And Amy, I don't know if it's in the budget or how expensive it was to do that mailer that just went out, but if it could be, just an idea, if they could be targeted to specific neighborhoods with, here's what's coming up for the summer that's going to impact the surrounding area.
Well, and we can target specific neighborhoods by working with their associations. If they have one like Olympus where the park is part of, we can reach out to 268 homes with a quick communication without any publications whatsoever. And just letting people know, it's a great idea, Christian.
Same goes for Hazelwood Community Association. There's hundreds of homes in that association that we can reach out to.
Say that again?
Hazelwood Community Association.
And there's Milepost right across the street from the park, so,
Which doesn't have a homeowners association. So just,
Right.
something to keep in mind too.
But it's great to know the different avenues that we can possibly access, because it's not just communicating about 4th of July, but, there's a town hall coming up, or there's public safety information. It's, to think about the different ways we can communicate information is really helpful.
Just out of curiosity, have we received complaints in the past about the fireworks? I'm just thinking, like, I remember working the city booth and like you get all kinds of feedback, and just wondering if maybe it would be helpful for whichever of us volunteers would be there to just have some talking points or like a way to address that if there's like a disgruntled person who's unhappy that fireworks are going to be taking place. I think the proactive communication is a really good one, but then also just, is there something we should say?
Thank you.
good thoughts. Anything else? Christian?
That mailer that went out, maybe before the summer events happen, instead of even doing a targeted mailer, depending on the budgetary cost. Just one with all of the events, right, that went out. Like all the concerts, fireworks on the lake, Newcastle Days. Because first of all, it would let everybody know what's coming up and they could plan around it. But then anybody who wants to make early plans and needs to get the heck out of Dodge for fireworks on the lake could do that. So
I can certainly make the suggestion and put the idea forth. But I do think we should really look at digital forms of communication and how we can best maximize those.
I know mailing tends to be pretty expensive, so.
And make sure it gets addressed at the town hall. And if, someone from the city council or city doesn't want to do that, then one of us can get up during the public comment period and make some sort of announcement.
And we can have a handout at the town hall that we can hand out at the CAC booth, for sure.
And it is typical that printed flyers get posted all over the community as well. So that printing cost does happen. is budgeted for. And we have volunteers who love to put up the flyers as well. So that print piece is happening in that regard.
I like the idea of piggybacking though with council. So if we can get with them in advance and get some ideas from them, if they think there's going to be some more publications, can we piggyback that towards the summertime and get that information included? It's a great idea. We can try.
Well, thank you again. If you have other ideas, suggestions, concerns about the fireworks feedback, please let me know because I want to get those booked sooner rather than later. We're waiting on the 2024 fireworks catalog to book the pyrotechnics, but we're ready to go on the sound, and certainly we're ready to go on the band as well. So I'm going to get that stuff buttoned up so that we're on the calendar, ready to go.
Okay. Charlie?
Are we going to be using the same fireworks person as last year? We are. Okay. I just thought it's going to open up a lot more now since it's after the 4th.
There are fewer pyrotechnics firms than ever before, and there's even more competition for those pyrotechnic companies than ever before. Our show, by comparison, in our region is not as large of a show as some of the other communities. So there aren't a lot of choices. Although we've gone with this firm or this company for a while, they love doing our show. They know it well.
Amy, I'm sure this is going to be thought of, but we're going to have a new access point to the lake at that point, so the boardwalk will be open. So we just want to make sure that we cut it off on the west side, the east side, so people don't migrate onto that boardwalk. And I'm sure that'll be thought of, but just.
And that's a good lead-in to the update on the boardwalks. So last thing on our general business, guys, is I got some information from Amy and Davi. So the Lakeborne Boardwalk, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to walk by it, but it's making some super quick progress. The key work is scheduled to be finished this month. If the schedule proceeds as expected, the goal is to closely work with the CAC to host a small ribbon-cutting ceremony with dignitaries, council members, and involved parties that help make this project possible. More to come on that. So probably at our March meeting, which I will not be present, there might be some more additional discussion around that ceremony. Grant funding was received, includes King County Parks levy and the Department of Commerce / Washington State Legislature funding. Let's see. Amy's note, be prepared for flexibility on scheduling. There are many parties that will have input on timing, most notably the individual who schedules for the 41st Legislative District delegation. So again, more to come on that, and more to come on that. The Hazelwood Boardwalk. So the request for quote is being sent to 4 key consulting groups to initiate design efforts. Because we have a strong set of examples to draw from, we aim to move through design and permitting as promptly as possible and aim to start construction by the end of this year, and if at all possible, since the funding is set aside in the 2024 budget. I've been on that boardwalk recently, and it is in desperate need of being upgraded, so that's good that we're getting that worked on. Any questions on the boardwalks? Okay.
Could you just, you said there's 4 RFPs that are out for the Hazelwood Boardwalk? Did I hear that correctly? Okay.
Correct. Okay, that concludes our general business. Additional public comment. Amy, do we have anybody? Okay. So our next meeting is March 13th. If council approves at their February 20th meeting, all our future meetings will start at 6 PM. So hopefully we'll find out by next Tuesday if that's been approved. I think it should. And like I said, I will be absent from the March meeting, so Vice Chair Flash will be officiating that meeting. And does anybody have anything else for tonight's meeting? No? If not, I am going to call this meeting adjourned.
Could you note the time?
7:10 PM.